Okay, so here we have the advisors from the OTA, technical assistance from the United States Treasury, and then we want to get to know from them what is their experience in the technical cooperation in PPPs to other countries and what they think Colombia should apply or should follow in order to have project finance standards and PPP projects in the future.
Thank you, Marcela. I'm Laura Barrientos. This is my colleague Sharita Sen. And one of the things we've been doing in terms of technical assistance with FDN is to provide some capacity building, a capacity building seminar, and looking at what the very basics of PPPs and what is required sort of on a global basis and global best practices to have successful P3s. And then more detail as to some of the things that go into risk allocation contracts and credit analysis. So we can go a little bit into some of those, the broader details, and to give you an introduction to the world of P3s, and then maybe a little more specifics on where Colombia is with those.
Thank you, Laura. So, Sharita, could you please tell us why you think public-private partnerships are like the good or the best way to develop infrastructure projects? What are the advantages or?
So there are many advantages, but just to say one of the most important things is it is only one tool in your toolbox. Not every project has to be a public-private partnership. But the most important aspect of this type of contracting is that you are getting the design, construction, operations, and maintenance, which actually aligns the incentives of the party to give whole life cycle costing. So it's the optimized life cycle cost of an asset over the period of the asset, which is always the best perspective rather than the fragmented view of doing design by a designer and then going to another contractor to build it and then going to somebody else to operate it. That's one of the most important aspects. The other one being the allocation of risks to the private party, and most of the times they're better able to handle a lot of the risks. So it is seen to be a risk allocation and risk optimization exercise that always seems to be beneficial to the public sector eventually. There's other issues. A lot of the countries in the world are really struggling with their limit on debt, and they really don't have the money to contribute to building new infrastructure or to even maintain existing infrastructure. And that's when the private sector can actually come in and help finance these deals, not only bringing the debt part of it, but also actually put in an equity cushion. So in summary, these are some of the highlights of why a lot of the countries are really looking into aligning with the private sector.
One of the important things to also consider is that a lot of times when countries or when first start talking about doing PPPs, there's a misconception that it's free money, and that transferring the risk and transferring the construction and transferring the management, that it's not costing. And then that's an optic that can come across. And the reality is it's a tool. It's a tool for the government to do what Sharita explained, and to get assets built, operated, maintained. But there is a cost to that, and it's a cost that can, through a PPP, that can be spread out over the life of the asset instead of having to do it all at once. So that's important too, that it's not the answer to everything, and it does cost, but it's easier in a way to budget for it over a period of time for better service than than some of the other typical public works options.
Okay, so for a person who is like new in the PPPs or project finance, who are the actors, or who's who in the PPPs, the sponsors from the financial sector? So could you please explain the actors who play and what role they play in this PPP projects?
So so the first person is the government agency, first party rather, and they set really the intentions of what they want to achieve through this type of contracting. And then the next party that comes to the contract is the developer, and that's called the private sponsor. And the developer actually forms a special purpose vehicle, or a SPV, that is a special entity, legal entity that's created separate and apart from the equity sponsors who actually contribute to the equity of the SPV. But this SPV is set up just specifically to hold this project on its asset, as an asset, and be responsible for all the contracting, the management, and the day-to-day management and the responsibilities. Then down the road we have a design build contractor that comes under the developer, and then we have an operations and maintenance contractor that also comes under the developer. And then who do we have left out? Lenders on the other side. They are providing the financing for a fixed interest rate, and so they really want to make sure that there's not a lot of risk in the transaction, so they play a very important role in setting the terms and conditions.
And in these types of transactions, those are the main players, but you have a lot of other players that contribute. There is a vast amount of other experts that come in. There's technical experts that will do feasibility studies, that will the independent engineers, if it's a toll road, it's traffic studies or whatever expertise it is for the type of project that it is. Usually the lenders hire a technical advisor to make sure that their understanding of their own risks from their viewpoint. So there's and every party hires a legal team. So there are a lot of other people that contribute to really trying to make these contracts, the project agreement and all the other contracts, very neat, tidy, clear, because this is something that's going to be going on for 25 to 30 years. So that's like the support staff to all the main players, and very just as important for the process to go well and smoothly.
Okay, thank you. And maybe the last question: how do you think is the difference between a public work and then PPP in terms of financing? Like where does the money come from, or how it is distributed differently that makes the things like to look in a different way, or at least like in the PPPs we could see that the money doesn't come first, but the private sector maybe is going to receive the money after they perform or they do the construction phase. So how do you think is like the difference?
I think that in a public works project, in a typical public works project, there's money spent up front. The government hires a designer, a contractor, the necessary parties.
And they have to immediately be paid.
Yeah, so they're immediately paying, many times before the project is completed, right? So the incentives for the private sector party to do a good job or better than a good job are not there, because they're getting paid to do it just at the level of expectation. And there's not, the public sector everywhere in the world hasn't done a very good job of looking ahead and budgeting, for maintenance or planning for maintenance of these assets. And so there's there's all these new greenfield assets, every mayor wants to cut the ribbon, or every governor on something. So there's a lot of new projects where the money's being put up front, but there's no plan for long-term maintenance. Where I think the incentives in the PPPs are different, and the distribution of the money is different. There's some money, but not all the money is given to the contractor at the construction stage. It's done either in milestones, when certain milestones are met, or at the very end of construction, and then when it gets to operations.